Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Las Vegas Bowl, Florida Gators versus the Oregon State Beavers. Oregon State comes into this game having won 6 of its last 7, including an upset of in-state rival Oregon. Meanwhile, Florida lost its in-state rivalry game to Florida State and lost 4 of its last 6 games, including one to Vanderbilt, one of the worst teams in the SEC. Beavers defense is much improved, but they'll have to deal with that really solid Florida running back duo, Montrell Johnson Jr. and Trevor Etienne. They combined for over 1,500 yards and 16 tutties on the season. No Anthony Richardson in this game, and Florida's second-string quarterback was dismissed from the team early in December following an arrest. The Beavers defense don't have to respect the passing game if there ain't one. Florida's offense becomes too one-dimensional, and that's the difference maker. Over-under in this game is 52. I'll take the under. Oregon State 28, Florida Gators 17. Beavs. Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Gasparilla Bowl, Mizzou Tigers versus the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Wake Forest QB Sam Hartman has announced that he will not return in 2023. The question still remains, though, will he play in this bowl game against a Mizzou defense that is much improved from last year? Wake Forest did drop 4 of its final 5 games, all but one by single digits. And Missouri could take a lead in this game, but if Hartman plays, I think he'll be the difference maker for Wake Forest. Mizzou has a few key opt-outs and transfers leaving, like Dominic Lovett, so there are questions about Mizzou's potency in a meaningful game. This over-under is 63. I'll take the under. Give me Wake Forest 27, Mizzou Tigers 24. Big Deke energy. Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Liberty Bowl, Arkansas Razorbacks versus the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas will return to a bowl game for the first time since 2008. And even better, these two teams haven't met on the field since 1906. Jalen Daniels, KJ Jefferson should be a really entertaining quarterback matchup. Both of these teams finished 6-6. I think Kansas could take an early lead, but it'll be all hogs in that ground game in the second half. I don't think we see a lot of defense in this game. Arkansas ranks 90th and Kansas ranks 119th in scoring defense. This game feels like first to 40 wins it. Over under 68, I'll take the over. Give me Hogs 45, Jayhawks 37. Whoopee. Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Texas Bowl. Ole Miss Rebels versus the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Look, Ole Miss struggled down the stretch, especially amid rumors that Lane might leave for the Auburn job. Well, Lane is staying in Oxford, and the Rebels have a chance to end their season on a high note. For Ole Miss, I expect big things from Quinshon Judkins. For the Red Raiders, I expect Tyler Shuck, quarterback, will keep them in this game. These are two pretty good offenses. Ole Miss is 28th and Texas Tech is 32nd in scoring offense. Texas Tech has a solid run defense. But Ole Miss has Quinshon Judkins, the SEC rushing yards leader, and he's 7th nationally. That's the difference maker. Over-under is 69.5. Nice. I don't think this goes that high, so I'll take the under. Give me Ole Miss 34, Texas Tech 29. Should be an awesome game. Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Gator Bowl. South Carolina Gamecocks versus Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This is a pretty big game. Notre Dame ended their season much better than they started, and South Carolina comes into this game riding high on top 10 wins over Tennessee and Clemson. Both of these squads are good on special teams, and right now it is really hard to pick against Shane Beamer and his South Carolina Gamecocks. The teams are pretty comparable in terms of scoring offense. They're pretty close. South Carolina has a slightly better pass offense. Notre Dame has a slightly better rush offense. Defensively, Notre Dame is a little tighter overall. Jaheim Bell has entered the transfer portal, and Spencer Rattler's status on returning in 2023 is unknown. If Rattler plays in this game, I'll probably take South Carolina by a field goal. If he doesn't, I'll probably take Notre Dame by a field goal. The over-under is 52. Push. I think that's pretty close. Final score 27-24. Again, weather spec. Way too early SEC Bowl predictions. The Music City Bowl. Kentucky Wildcats versus the Iowa Hawkeyes. One word. gross. If you thought a Hawkeyes offense with their starting quarterback was exciting, just wait until you see them down to their third string. Wait until you see Joe Labas or Carson May against Kentucky, who, by the way, might also be without their starting quarterback, Will Levis, who's declared for the draft. This is a bowl game rematch, and Iowa is most likely going to need points from its defense or special teams, and Kentucky's going to have to lean on Chris Rodriguez Jr. at running back to provide enough offense to get this game done. Iowa and Kentucky are both top 10 passing defenses, but neither team has a passing game that the either needs to be concerned about. The over-under in this game is 31.5, and I'm smashing the under. Give me Kentucky 16, Iowa 10, but don't be surprised to see a score like 15-11 or 11-4. True sicko mode. Way too early SEC bowl predictions, the Reliaquest Bowl. If you're wondering what the hell is the Reliaquest Bowl, it used to be called the Outback Bowl. So that's where we're at. Mississippi State versus Illinois. Illinois, one of the best, if not the best, defenses in the country. All-American DB Devin Witherspoon. They'll try to slow down Will Rogers in this air raid offense. The status of Illinois running back Chase Brown is worth keeping an eye on. Illinois started the season hot at 5-1, kind of tapered off toward the back half of the season. They have not won a bowl game since 2011, but they got a shot here. Illinois' offense is predicated on running the ball, and Chase Brown ranks second in the FBS in rushing yards. Illinois has the first-ranked scoring defense, including the fifth-ranked pass defense. All the Bulldogs do is pass. This is a bad matchup for Mississippi State. Over-under is 46.5. I'll take the under. It's not a good look for an SEC podcast to pick against the SEC, but give me Illinois 21, Mississippi State. Way too early SEC bowl predictions, the Citrus Bowl. Not the Cheez-It Bowl, but the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. LSU Tigers versus Purdue Boilermakers. This is SEC championship runner-up versus Big Ten championship runner-up. Purdue hasn't been to Orlando since 2004. Opt-out shouldn't be a big issue for Purdue. LSU, maybe so. Purdue showed last year in the Music City Bowl against Tennessee that they could score on an SEC team, and I think Jeff Brom will have a very aggressive game plan with veteran quarterback Aiden O'Connell. But LSU defense, way better than that Tennessee defense they saw last year. Keyshawn Boutte is returning for LSU. Whether Jaden Daniels is healthy, Garrett Nussmeier appeared more than capable at quarterback. One thing to keep an eye on is if Jeff Brom might indeed be headed to Louisville, which could shake things up at Purdue. The over-under in this game is 58. Push, I think that's pretty close. Give me LSU 31, Purdue 24. Go Tigers. Way too early SEC bowl predictions, the orangest of orange bowls, Tennessee Volunteers versus the Clemson Tigers. Tennessee's first New Year's Six appearance in the college football playoff era. Both teams undergoing quarterback changes recently. Joe Milton now at Tennessee, Cade Klubnik now at Clemson. Tennessee still boasts that number one ranked offense in the country, but a lot of that was because of having Hendon Hooker. It will still be a good offense, but it will be different with Joe Milton. On the other hand, Clemson might have something figured out with Cade Klubnik stepping in at quarterback. Clemson has a good rushing defense, and Tennessee's entire offense is built around running the ball, despite what you might believe about that Vols passing game. Tennessee might be without a few too many players on defense, possibly some opt-outs, and that passing defense has not been good all season. The over-under is 64, and I'm staying away from this one. Too many questions for Tennessee. I have 2 degrees from the University of Tennessee. I'll be cheering on my boys. I love the Vols, but there's too many questions for me. I think Clemson gets this one done. I'll take Clemson 35, Tennessee 31, but go Big Orange. Way too early SEC bowl predictions, the Sugar Bowl. Alabama Crimson Tide versus the Kansas State Wildcats. By far the biggest concern here for me is motivation. Is Alabama going to show up motivated to play in the Sugar Bowl? While Kansas State, I don't think they're going to have any issue with that. It's their first New Year's Six Bowl since 2013. Alabama's missing out on the CFP for just the second time since 2014. I think opt-outs are highly likely for Alabama. Will Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., and others play in this game? I doubt it. I think Kansas State can compete with anyone. They've got standouts on offense and defense. They're a very good team with the ability to beat this Alabama team, especially without Young, Anderson, and others. But I'm not picking against Alabama. Are you crazy? They have depth throughout their depth. That's why they're Alabama. The over-under here is 54.5. Push, just enjoy the game. I'll take Alabama 30, Kansas State 24, Roll Tide. Way too early SEC bowl predictions, the Peach Bowl. Georgia Bulldogs versus Ohio State Buckeyes. Georgia coming off of their second consecutive undefeated regular season. Ohio State coming off of their first loss of the season to division rival and college football playoff contender Michigan. This Georgia team, a superior version of that Michigan team that gashed Ohio State in their home stadium. Ohio State, still a good team. They're a top 15 defense, possibly now the #1 offense in the country. LSU showed how to score points on Georgia in the SEC championship. CJ Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr. should be really fun to watch. But outside of that fluky Mizzou game back in October, there is not a ball game this season that Georgia has not completely controlled. If the Bulldogs don't win by a couple scores here, something completely fell apart. The over-under is 61.5, but hey, just enjoy this game. Should be a great one. Give me Georgia 38, Ohio State 24, go Dogs.